Good morning, first graders. We are going to go on our first nature scavenger hunt through Mr. Jim's backyard, at least for today. We're going to call it a wildflower scavenger hunt. Okay, I'm going to show you a couple wildflowers that I have in my yard and see what kind of different colors and shapes and sizes we can find. And then I'm going to ask you to do the same in your yard, in your neighborhood, around where you live. So here we go. I'm going to record a couple different flowers that we can find here, and then it will be your turn. So let's see what we can find. Here's a plant that you might not think of as having flowers. You might recognize it from the garden at school, but I have one in my backyard. It produces, after it has a flower, produces these awesome berries. Does anybody recognize this one? Yep, this is a mulberry. So I had to plant one in our yard so that we could attract some birds and we could have some nice tasty blueberries to add to our menu. If you look closely, you can see right here where the berries are forming, that's where the flowers were. So all these plants, once they have done flowering or they're finished flowering, they make either fruit or they make seeds. Sometimes they put their seeds in the fruit, like the mulberry and like some of the other flowers that we're going to see in the yard. Now, some of the flowers are going to be super duper tiny. You're going to have to get on your belly, like I'm doing right now, to get a really good close look. Here's another purplish kind of flower. This is called creeping sage, and it has these really cool light blue flowers. I don't know if you can see that. I'll include some really close-up photos too, so you can appreciate how beautiful this flower is. You can see it has a couple petals on it. I'll have to get out a magnifying glass to see them even closer, but let's press on, see what other colors we can find. Here's another common wildflower that you might even have around you and you didn't even know it. This is called Spiderwort, and if you look closely, it has 3 really big petals, and it's super cool, and you can see where the pollen is right in the middle. You see that? Also, if you look very carefully, you can see some raindrops or dew on the petals themselves. So this is our first purple flower, so we'll see if we can find some other cool colors to go along on our scavenger hunt. Here's another native wildflower that I really like. It's called blue Porterweed, and it too has small flowers, but it stays close to the ground. We're going to zoom in, get closer to it, see what we can find out. Here, check out these. What color? Yep, another bluish flower. It's hard to see the petals. I'll include a close-up photo so we can check it out. Pretty cool plant. Bees really love it. Some of the plants that have flowers are actually shrubs. And this one, called wild coffee, if you look very closely, it's attracting some pollinators. That was just a long thread-waisted wasp that was checking out the flowers here. Here they are right there. What color? Yep, you got it. White flowers. Not very showy, but they turn into some really cool bright red berries. There's some more flowers here. Let's get a closer look. Look at that. Right there. They're small, they're white, they're not very showy, but as you can see, the pollinators really. Here's one that I'm sure you all will recognize. This is called Spanish needles, and most people think of it just as a common weed, but as Miss Jenny has already probably taught you, it's most of the plant's edible. You can eat the petals, you can eat the leaves, I believe, but it does turn into lots and lots of little hitchhikers, a lot of seeds that stick onto you. But I have to say, it's one of the best plants for butterflies and other pollinating insects. They love it. So how many petals do you see and what color are they? This one's an easy one. You should be able to get this one. So here's a fun wildflower. that maybe you've seen around Mr. Jim's back cave. This is called coral honeysuckle. You can see where it gets its name. It's got that coral or kind of pinkish color, and the petals on the inside are actually a really pretty orange. Now this is a great plant for attracting hummingbirds. They love it, so that's why I planted it on our trellis here. Let's take a closer look and see what the flower's like and see if you can count the petals. Here's another wildflower. It's actually not a native wildflower. This is called Dutchman's Pipe or pipe vine. Check this flower out. Looks just like it's one giant petal. And if you look at it from the side, it looks like an old Dutchman's pipe. So that's where it gets its name. And I plant this on our trellis because it's the host plant for the pipe vine swallowtail butterfly. And we like to have butterflies all around us. So it's another reason to plant wildflowers. Here's one of my favorite wildflowers, and it's one of the easiest to grow. It's called the blanket flower, or gaillardia, and this one has such beautiful colors in it. It's reds and yellows and oranges. If you look really close, it's got a lot of petals. I'm not going to count them, but I'll let you guys do the honor. Maybe you can freeze it on your computer screen and actually count all the different petals that this plant has. This is actually in the aster family, and instead of this, you would think this is one flower, but it's actually a whole bunch of little flowers, and each petal is from one flower, so it's pretty cool. And if you hang out, that's one other thing I'd like you to encourage you to do is if you got some time, which I think you do, just find some really cool flowers, maybe in your backyard, and just hang out by them for a few minutes. See who comes. Don't get too close because you'll scare them off, but see if you got some bees, some flies, some wasps. See what turns up. That you guys have had a tour of some of the wildflowers in my yard. Now it's time for you to go scouting your own yard for seeing what kind of wildflowers you have. I want you to make special note of what colors you find and how many petals they have. And the third thing I want you to look into and keep an eye on is what kind of pollinating insects do you see on these flowers. That's your task. See if you can find some cool things. If you have a camera, you can take some pictures. That would be awesome too. Go ahead and if you do it, and you can email a picture or two of one of the wildflowers that you found on your wildflower scavenger hunt this week. You can just email it to Mr. Jim at jim@learninggate.org. So I'll put that down here so you can jot that down, and you can let me know how your scavenger hunt went. All right? Hope you're all doing well, and good luck.